The only two on-record sources both said that he didn't say that. The only source is an anonymous source, and the family of the deceased soldier said that he was lovely to them, and in fact, they voted for Donald Trump today. That's how much they disagreed, and they said it was a disrespectful article that politicized the death of their loved one.
So I don't know how many of you guys are even aware of this, much less do you actually care, which you should not. But the Democrats have dropped their October surprise. And are you ready? This is going to be a really big bombshell, okay? Very creative, by the way, very innovative, very original. You definitely will not have heard this one before. It's that Trump is a Nazi. Trump likes Hitler. Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh. You know, you saying this for the millionth time is really going to change everything. But apparently this is once again one of those hearsay stories with no evidence where someone who worked in the Trump White House but now is against Trump and working for the Democrats and all that stuff now claims 5 years later, why he didn't say this all along, I don't know, but randomly in October 2024, he magically remembered, actually, Trump really likes Hitler. I don't know. Take a listen. This is essentially what is going on for the context.
He would, he commented more than once that, you know, that Hitler did some good things too. And of course, if you know history, again, I think he's lacking in that. But if you know what Hitler was all about, it'd be pretty hard to make an argument that he did anything good.
So what would you say when he said to you that Hitler did a lot of good things?
Well, I tell him that. I said, you know, sir, first of all, you should never say that. But if you knew what Hitler was all about from the beginning to the end, everything he did was in support of his racist, fascist life, philosophy, so that nothing he did you could argue was good. It was certainly not done for the right reason. And but he would occasionally say that.
What would he say when you would lay that out to him?
He'd just, that'd be the end of the conversation usually.
So who you heard there is a former Trump chief of staff, John Kelly, who's just been anti-Trump the whole time. I really wonder why. There definitely is not a financial or political incentive behind coming out against Donald Trump and writing a memoir about that or something. But folks, if you enjoy the content, by the way, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you are new. And why should you subscribe? Because doing so goes a long way in ensuring we can keep bringing you these videos. But yeah, I mean, again, totally ridiculous, right? So apparently in White House staff meetings and cabinet meetings, Trump is just a full-blown Nazi. Like he was going out for all these years saying, Hitler did some good things. And then apparently he allegedly said that he wants generals like Hitler had and all this stuff. But we're only hearing about it very mysteriously. John Kelly, who left the Trump White House in 2019, suddenly in October 2024, magically remembered or decided to say that, actually, yeah, back 5 years ago, Trump used to say this stuff all the time, and the fact that I'm coming out with this now in October before the election is definitely not a coincidence. Yeah, absolutely nobody believes this. And if you do, it's just like, okay, I don't know what to tell you, honestly. There are no undecided voters left in this country that are going to be swayed by this, much less are there really undecided voters at all. It's getting kind of late. Early voting has already started in the vast majority of this country, but this is what they are doing. And their second October surprise currently is some type of, I believe this is, by the way, anonymously sourced allegation that Trump said something he said in regards to him paying, he was going to personally pay out of his own pocket for the military funeral of one of our fallen veterans. He allegedly said it doesn't cost $60,000 to bury a effing Mexican, because the guy was apparently Latino. Again, do you really think that Trump is just going around saying things like this, like disparaging dead soldiers? I really don't believe so. But if you don't want to take my word for that, literally Mark Meadows, former Trump staffers who were there, as well as the soldier's family and lawyer, all came out and said, yeah, this did not happen. I don't know where this is coming from, but that just goes to show you how desperate they are that, can you believe that Trump said Hitler? He said racist stuff years ago and we're suddenly now... It's just ridiculous. That said, CNN recently did a debate panel about this, and I want to play for you here as the lone conservative, whose name is Ryan Gerdusky, by the way, feel free to follow him on Twitter, sort of shuts down the rest of the conversation on this. Take a listen.
Part of this, Ryan, let me bring you in here. There is a value in either planting seeds or undermining the media or suggesting that you can't trust them and you can trust what I have to say, because I have a feeling that there are a number of voters who are hearing so many things about Trump. They're hearing the claims, they're hearing the statements, they're hearing about members of the cabinet saying no can do, no will do again. And then you hear Trump's campaign saying this is false. President Trump never said any of this. I mean, Trump, though, tonight praised authoritarian leaders, China's Xi, Russia's Putin.
Okay, hold on. Before we get into that part, why don't the American people trust the media? Again, I laid out for you like the timeline here. This allegedly happened in 2019. By the way, if this was such a big deal, you think it would be something you would say? Maybe immediately once you leave the White House, like, hey, by the way, the 2020 election happened. Are we forgetting that? So they just magically decided it was not a good idea to tell the American public. The president is running around, praising Hitler every 5 seconds. But in October 2024, yeah, we're going to come out with this. And by the way, why don't people believe the journalists? Because this entire thing is hearsay. This is literally just what John Kelly and Mark Milley, both of whom have been anti-Trump the entire time since now, this is what they're claiming, okay? Again, there is literally no proof of any of this. This is just an entirely a he said, she said situation. So when you stand there and say, why don't the people trust the journalists? Well, even the journalists, you guys... all you have is allegations, okay? But I guess this is essentially cope because the American people are not really accepting the Democrats' big October surprise, much less do they actually care about it, just saying.
These authoritarian leaders, China's Xi, Russia's Putin. Listen to this.
Can you imagine what President Xi, I got to know him very well. He's a fierce individual. He runs 1.4 billion people with an iron fist. Am I allowed to say he's smart? He's smart. He's a smart man. He's a fierce man. I get along with him very well. Putin, these are people that are tough people.
I mean, many people have an issue with appraising of any kind of either of these two leaders. Does the fact that he appears to have a strong affinity for those who are authoritarians in the leadership, is that deniable at this point?
Well, in the clip you showed, he didn't praise them. He just called Xi smart, which is the only praise he gave them.
Well, it's not an insult.
It's not, okay,
Right?
well, it's not, but it's not praise either, which is what you said it was, which it wasn't. But according to the Jeffrey Goldberg...
Correct. Okay, by the way, it's true. It doesn't mean they're good. Okay, there's a lot of evil geniuses out there. But to pretend like they're not intelligent, and by the way, the point Trump is making is you need a competent person dealing with these leaders because they're not idiots. They know what they're doing. They're very savvy. That's all true. Okay. I don't know what you want me to say. I guess they're just defending the fact that Kamala's low IQ. Oh, she's going to walk in to meet with Putin and have no idea what she's doing. But how dare you? It doesn't make any sense.
Article, which we've talked about this entire night. You can't trust that article because the quote 60,000 for an effing Mexican funeral, the only two on-record sources both said that he didn't say that. The only source is an anonymous source, and the family of the deceased soldier said that he was lovely to them, and in fact, they voted for Donald Trump today. That's
Correct.
How much they disagreed, and they said it was a disrespectful article that politicized the death of their loved one. And Jeffrey Goldberg did not care about printing something that they had no sources on the record for. And I honest to God, like most Americans, do not care General Kelly's farewell tour where he tries to make amends for working for Donald Trump, since Democrats said we're going to run all these Republicans who work for Trump out of town unless they somehow make peace. So 2 weeks before Election Day, he runs to liberal journalist Susan Glasser about a conversation that allegedly happened 4 years ago. It doesn't pass a smell test. And that is why people are turned off to all of these stories. They remember Donald Trump's presidency for low inflation, jobs, peace through strength, controlled borders. That's why they care. No one believes Jeffrey Goldberg and the article from a publication that's owned by one of Harris's donors.
Well, first, let me just...
Exactly. Why don't you trust the journalists? As Ryan Grodusky brings up here, it was an anonymously sourced story. You wonder why there can be issues with that, right? It was anonymously sourced. The person refused to go on the record about this, Mexicans comment, but you need to take this allegation that a tabloid newspaper, which is what, offensive thing to call it, I don't care, right? A tabloid newspaper puts out, and how dare you not trust the American media? Okay. All right.
Just so correct, I did speak to Susan earlier. Susan wrote a book years ago where she was talking about her reporting independent of what was tonight. And this was corroborating or affirming what she had already learned years ago. But to the point of, how this is viewed by voters, I mean, and I know you were talking, Jamal, I want to get you in here. What you have said just now, Ryan, I think is very illustrative of what I think you're seeing from supporters of Trump who refuse to look at this in a way that is portrayed in the media. They do not see this in the same way. Whether you agree with that or not, Jamal, they do not see it the same way. And I wonder what can be done about that. If you're the Harris campaign and you're out there saying, look at all the people who were telling you, do not trust this person, not just in the last few weeks, but for quite some time. I forget the attrition rate during his administration. What do you do with that as a campaign?
Well, here's the proposal. Maybe don't run on that. Right? You're just digging yourselves a deeper hole. Orange man bad, orange man bad. Okay, well, what are you going to do for me? Why are you actually better than the orange man? Crickets? I don't know, fake laughter? I have a Glock something? Could be an idea. I'm just saying.
First of all, what reason do we have to believe anything Donald Trump says? Donald Trump lies about things that we have seen with our very own eyes, right? We all watched January 6th, and he says it was a day of love. So we don't have a reason to believe Trump. I'd rather believe military generals who are honored and decorated, and people don't have any reason to lie, right? It makes more sense.
Okay, in that case, there's WMDs in Iraq. There you go. I mean, it actually fits because, Kamala Harris has become the candidate of the neocons. Dick Cheney, John Bolton, all these characters are basically on her side. Dick Cheney outright endorsed her. So, okay. All right. There you go. Have fun with that, though. Have fun with that.
John Bolton was in the Bush White House. Do you believe him?
This isn't about the Bush White House.
No, you didn't believe him. You believe him now that he attacks Trump.
This isn't about the Bush White House.
Right.
Because you can say what you want to say about
this. When there were Republicans who attacked Trump.
This isn't about that,
record.
sir. This is about the person that aspiring to be president of the United States today. And so what I think the Harris campaign has to do, the Harris campaign has to continue to tell the stories that they're doing right now. They're doing it inside of rallies. They're making us pay attention to this in a way that people haven't paid attention to it. And I think what will happen over the course of time is that it's not going to be that Donald Trump is going to be at 45 or 44%. This is going to be a 48, 49% candidacy. But if the Harris campaign can peel 2 points off of Donald Trump, 1 or 2 points off of him in these battleground states, they win this election.
The problem is that the people that they want to peel off, they may not be paying attention to this story. They may not be following every single line coming out of, Kamala Harris. They're not watching rallies.
Correct.
They're not showing up to rallies. They're frankly probably streaming, maybe getting a few text messages on their phone and ignoring it altogether. So to even reach these people, you really need to hit them from all different angles. And are they going to be reading The Atlantic? I don't know about that.
No, but they'll be.
And by the way, in many ways, it's already too late, okay? Because we seem to forget, the election is not just election day anymore. It is several weeks before election day. A lot of people already voted, okay? A lot of people already voted. In fact, it really depends, right? But in a lot of cases, the low propensity voters prefer to vote by mail or prefer to vote early because it's more convenient than, plotting out a side for election day. And on top of that, most people have made up their minds by now, Another orange man bad story 8 years later, I should say. Is it really going to move the needle? No.
They'll be on their phones, Tara. They'll be on their phones, and they'll get it in social media posts, and they'll get it in advertisements. They'll get it in radio. There are ways to communicate.
But
because
they've
never heard Trump being compared to Hitler
Excuse
before.
me, I want to hear.
Brand new.
Excuse me.
Right.
I want you to hear, since you talked about Jeffrey Goldberg, I want you to hear, because he was actually on CNN earlier this evening defending his work. And I know that you took issue with the way in which it was written and conveyed the information. Listen to this for a moment.
Mark Meadows was in the meeting. Kash Patel was in the meeting. A whole bunch of other senior officials were in the meeting. I have sources who are sitting in that meeting. I have contemporaneous notes taken by participants in that meeting that describe exactly what I described in the story.
Well, this is the thing. Voters have heard one side, the other side, hearing from him, and of course, we'll hear from the candidates. 14 days from now, we'll see how they decide the issue. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, because source, trust me, bro. It's like... You're accusing this journalist of lying. Well, here's this journalist going out and saying he's telling the truth. Again, it's all hearsay, okay? It is. Now, you can believe it, you cannot. It's kind of really your choice there. But don't be shocked when people say, yeah, like it's hearsay. I don't believe it, right? Because if you're super Trump deranged, then you're just going to want to confirm that story. If you're pro-Trump, you're just going to say it's not true. If you're in the middle, you'll probably just say you don't know. Okay, but seriously, if this is the Democrats' big October surprise, another story based on hearsay and personal testimony by sources that in some cases don't even want to go on the record about it, okay, you know, I think you guys really have run out of things to try at this point, so because they've really done everything. So what does it go back to? The OG, right? Orange man bad. Wow, that's really gonna do it for you. Okay, with that said though, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Do you think that these hit pieces are gonna really make a difference in the election? Do you think it's remotely believable that like people really think Trump is just sitting in a cabinet meeting saying, yeah, Adolf Hitler is such a good guy, yeah, I'm gonna say this in front of everyone? Okay, like even you know, whatever. We get the point by now. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.